What is Dadaism, Dada art, or Dadaist? Dadaism is originally a colloquial French term for a hobby horse. Dada as a word is nonsense. As a movement, Dadaism proved to be one of the revolutionary art movement in the early 20th century, born as a response to the modern age.
Dadaism, origins and key ideas of the art movement. During the First World War, countless artists, writers, and intellectuals who opposed the war sought refuge in Switzerland. Zurich, in particular, was a hub for people in exile. It was here that Hugo Ball and Emmy Hemmings opened the Cabaret Voltaire on February 5, 1960. The cabaret was a meeting spot for the more radical avant-garde artists. A cross between a nightclub and an art center, artists could exhibit their work there among cutting-edge poetry, music, and dance. Jean Arp, Tristan Tzara, Marcel Hanco, and Richel Halzenbeck were among the regional contributors of the Cabaret Voltaire. As the war raged on, their art and performances became increasingly experimental, dissident, and anarchic. Together, they protested against the pointless and horrors of the war under the battle cry of Dada. Reacting against the rise of capitalist culture, the war, and the concurrent degradation of art, artists in the early 1910s began to explore new art, or anti-art as described by Marcel Duchamp. They wanted to contemplate the definition of art, and to do so, they experimented the laws of chances and with the found object. Theirs was an art form underpinned by humor and clever turn, but at its very foundation, the Dadaists were asking a very serious question about the role of art in the modern age. This question became more pertinent. The reach of Dada art spread by 1950. Its ideals had been adopted by artists in New York, Paris, and beyond, and as the world was plunged into the atrocities of World War I. Different modes of Dadaism. The Dadaists did not shy away from experimenting with new media. For example, Jean Arp, a sculptor who pioneered Dadaism, explored the art of collage and the potential of randomness in its creation. Man Ray also toyed with the arts of photography and airbrushing as practices that distances the hand of artists and thus incorporate collaboration with a chance. Beyond these artistic media, the Dadaists also probed literary and performance arts. Hugo Ball, for instance, the man who penned the unifying manifesto of Dadaism in 1916, investigated the liberation of the written word, freeing text from the conventional constraint of a published page. Ball played with the power of nonsensical syllables presented as a new form of poetry. These Dadaist poems were often transformed into performances, allowing these networks of artists to move easily between. Example of famous Dada art. The movement has brought many famous artworks. Here are the selected examples, like the Marcel Duchamp's fountain. In 1917, Marcel Duchamp submitted a urinal to the Society of Independent Artists. The society refused fountain because they believed it could not be considered a work of art. Duchamp's fountain raised countless important questions about what makes art art, and is considered a major landmark in 20th century art. Another example was Man Ray's Inger's violin. By painting F-holes on a string instrument on the photographic print of his nude model Kiki de Montrapan-Tarasne, and rephotographing the print, Man Ray altered what was originally a classical nude. The female body was now transformed into a musical instrument. He also added the title Le Violin d'Ingrès, a French idiom that means hobby.
Reception, downfall, and dissemination of Dadaist ideals. The bold new approaches of the Dadaist stirred controversy within contemporary culture. Their swift break from tradition, their impassioned pursuit of a new mode of expression, and their willingness to bring the revered world of fine art back to a more level of egalitarian playing field through reception, downfall, and dissemination of Dadaist ideals. The bold new approaches of a Dadaist-steered controversy within contemporary culture. Their swift break from tradition, their impassioned pursuit of a new mode of expression, and their willingness to bring the revered word of fine art back to a more level of egalitarian playing field through both of humor and inquisitive investigation allowed Dada artists to attract both fans and hosts of their work. Some saw Dada's expression as the next step forward in the avant-garde march. Others missed the significant and extensive work, such as the chunk ready-mades, as not art but simply the constituent object, leading to some of the originals being relegated to the refuse pile. Dadaism gripped audiences into the 1920s, but the movement as a whole was destined to crumble. Like Man Ray, found their inclination moving into the subconscious realm of surrealism. Others found the pressure of the modern European artists to weigh too bear. 1930s dealt a powerful blow to the modern art world, as a maniacal despot sought a route out the sprout of modern art, a field he considered degenerate as a result. Dada artists witnessed their work mocked and destroyed and thus chose to escape the stifling air of Europe for the more liberated artistic climate of the United States and beyond. Though many of these initial members scattered, the ideals of Dadaists remain alive and well among contemporary artists. In many regards, one can see the threads of Dada's revive. For example, during the pop art era, neo-Dadaists presented motifs and cultural commentaries interpret with a hint of Dadaist intrigue. But it was in the latter half of 20th century that full of impact of the Dadaist movement was realized. In addition to the two major international retrospectives, one in 1967 in Paris and another in 2006 at various international venues. Curator research was comprehension and preservation of their legacy.